Welcome to Sendoff Sports. I'm Alexis Smino.
And I'm Lucas Skro. With spring football quickly coming to an end, CU fans can catch one last glimpse of the team tomorrow at the Spring Showcase on Folsom Field. When asked what we wanted to accomplish this last scrimmage, head coach Carl Durrell emphasized the growth of the team has gone through in the last 14 practices and hopes to see it shine throughout during the Spring Showcase. It'll go from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. It'll be quickly followed by a field day for fans of all ages to enjoy.
Speaking of football, here is SBS reporter Nikki Edwards with a spring recap.
It's getting warm out, Bucks. You know what that means. Spring football is back. During the offseason, the football program went under a variety of changes. Head coach Carl Durrell hired 6 new assistant coaches, brought on 22 high school recruits, 3 junior college transfers, and 5 players from the NCAA transfer portal. In 2023 recruiting class, 11 new players committed to the program, putting them at number 1 in the Pac-12 and number 10 in the nation. Coming into spring, CU football set 5 goals to 1, establish an offensive identity, 2, replace key departures on the defense, 3, rebuild the offensive line, 4, identify new lead running back, and 5, resume the quarterback battle. As the rebuilding process is underway, coaches look to establish who on the roster will bring these goals to fruition. Both Mike Sanford and Carl Durrell are impressed with Brendan Lewis's growth in his performance during practice. Durrell said, "He's not anything from what you saw in 2021. I saw a completely different player." Sanford, overseeing Lewis, said, "He's taking charge of the offense. He's making really good and fast decisions." In the receiving group, Daniel Arias stood out with his 44-yard snag at the scrimmage on April 9th, as well as a 16-yard touchdown. Jay Lee Stacks shined within the running back group as he received recognition from running back coach Darian Hagan and Durrell after practice. Defensive coordinator Chris Wilson wants to continue to add to the team. He feels good about the current depth of the defense, but said this is not the final team. New cornerbacks coach Rod Chance and defensive line coach Gerald Chapman are working with Wilson and the defensive staff this spring to identify the top 22 players. Amongst the defensive group, Wilson noted that there's good speed and good young athlete at Monday's podium. As the showcase approaches and spring ball comes to an end, the Buffs are continually developing to show fans this fall that they are indeed a new team.
This summer, Topgolf will be coming to Folsom Field for 4 days. That's right, Topgolf will be here from June 28th through July 2nd. Tickets go live on Monday, April 25th, and prices start at $80, and students can play for $40. Come this summer to Folsom Field and get your golf on. See you there.
The season for the women's lacrosse team is wrapping up. They have lost 3 of their last 4 games, which accounts for more than half of their season losses. But they are hoping to end the season on a high note, as they are battling Oregon right now on Kitt Field. They are currently ahead 12-4. They have a 12-game winning streak against the Ducks. This is also their senior night. 15, that's right, 15 players are graduating this semester. They will all be celebrated tonight, hopefully after a win.
Last Saturday, the men's lacrosse team hosted the Colorado State Rams for the first time ever since 2019. A fast-paced and physical game from the start, the Buffs saw 8 different players record a goal throughout the game to help the team pull away with a 12-16 win. The Buffs travel to Salt Lake City today to take on University of Texas in the first round of the Rocky Mountain Lacrosse Conference. But first, Zoe Paulson has a quick recap of the most exciting parts of last week's showdown.
It's super exciting. Topgolf being held at Folsom this summer. However, did you know that Folsom has also hosted the Boulder, numerous concerts, and even beach volleyball? Speaking of concerts, how many total do you think have been played on Folsom Field? Is it A, 9, B, 13, C, 17, or D, 20? We'll have the answer for you at the end of our show.
Coming up next, we got both men's and women's basketball news after the break.
April 11th, Maya Hollingshed embraced her family in tears as she received a phone call from the Las Vegas Aces. Colorado star forward was the Aces' first pick in the draft, and Hollingshed was the number 8 overall selection. She's also the first women's basketball player in CU history to be drafted in the first round. The last Buff drafted was Chuck Jeffrey as the 24th pick in the second round in 2013. From ending the season in March to entering the draft, Hollingshed now finds herself at the Aces training camp, preparing for her first professional season.
Our heads were kind of spinning walking in, day one, just because these are people you typically see on TV, and now you're seeing them every day in practice and going at it with them in practice and, building those relationships, especially with Becky Hammond, someone who's been in the league and she's, seen things and she's also played. And just having her start out here as my first coach, I think I wouldn't want to learn from anybody else right now but her. So it's been great.
The legendary Becky Hammond now leads the Las Vegas Aces as their head coach. Hammond was previously the first full-time female assistant coach for the San Antonio Spurs. This will be her first season with the franchise.
My first question for Maya is, why hasn't she razzed me about being a Ram? Because I don't know what her record was versus CSU. I'm sure you played against CSU at some point during your career, but
well, kind of after COVID, we haven't played them. So I think it's been like 2 years we haven't played them since I've been there. But we're 1-1 so far. I remember we lost the first year, my freshman year, and then came back second year. We were like, no, we're not losing.
See, what happened with me, Maya, is they wouldn't even play us.
Yeah.
For 4 years, never played us. But I'm just saying.
That's a good thing, I think.
Wednesday was day 3 of training camp for the Aces. Hammond and the team look to prepare for their home opener on May 8th at 7 p.m.
3 Buffs will be competing for an NBA championship for the next few months as the playoffs are now underway. Spencer Dinwiddie, Derek White, and McKinley Wright will look to put their name into the last of Buffs to win an NBA title, while Dallas Mavericks' Luka Doncic has sat out due to a calf strain. Dinwiddie has stepped up for the Mavericks, recording 20 points in Game 3 on Thursday night. White continues to record solid minutes for the Celtics as Boston leads Brooklyn 2-0 in the series. Wright recorded 5 points and 3 assists on Thursday night as the Timberwolves fell to the Grizzlies by a score of 126-118.
This week, 3 basketball Buffs are in the transfer portal, committing to schools. Peanut Tuttle announced that she is staying in the Pac-12, but transferring to Berkeley. Tutley played 4 seasons at CU, but has an extra year of eligibility because of COVID-19 pandemic. She played in 110 games with 94 starts. Keyshawn Bartholomew has committed to Oregon, a Pac-12 conference rival. Bartholomew spent 3 seasons in CU's program. Last year, he played in a limited bench role as McKinley Wright's backup. This season, he has been a key offensive player. Elijah Parquette has decided to complete his college career at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Using his extra season of eligibility wasn't originally the plan for Parquette, but a midseason foot injury that put a premature end to his Buffalo's career changed that dynamic. Earlier this spring, Parquette won the Buffs Team Award as the best defense for the 2nd consecutive year.
It was a tough loss for the Buffs as they fell to number 37 ranked Oregon Wednesday evening at the Pac-12 Championships with a score of 4-3. The team officially finishes their season with 3 ranked wins under first-time head coach Anthony Pham. Although disappointed at the end results, Pham gives his thanks to 3 graduating seniors from the team: Kai Ekton, Megan Forster, and Caroline Pozo.
You might follow our Buffs on the basketball court or football field, but a sport that does not get often looked in the CU community is women's and men's ultimate frisbee, the CU Mama Bird. Ahead of their regional tournament in the Denver next weekend, we wanted to give them a shout out and some much deserved recognition. The sport of ultimate is played 7-on-7, with the players passing a flying disc while trying to reach the opponent's endgame zone. The game consists of 4 12-minute quarters and draws elements from football, soccer, and basketball. Here at CU, there's both an A and a B team squad that compete against likes of the Colorado State, University of Denver, Colorado Mesa University, and many more. Many of the guys that play for the team go on to compete for the Colorado Summit, which is Colorado's semifinal professional ultimate franchise. Mama Bird has 2 national championships, winning in 2004 and 2014. With the postseason quickly approaching, they're hoping to pick up their 3rd at the College Ultimate National Championships in May.
Brendan Lewis and Daniel Aries look to be in mid-season form with our Buffs play of the week. This clip comes from the spring practices as the team ramps up for the upcoming season. Lewis threaded the needle through the linebacker, Mr. Williams, and found Aries for a beautiful connection. Lewis placed the ball perfectly in the breadbasket as Aries pulled it down with the defender on his back. As Lewis continues to get comfortable leading the team, Buffs fans should expect more great connections with the new Buffaloes offense.
Now we head over to Taylor Sadusky for this week's edition of Buff Banter.
Yeah, Taylor.
Names such as Eric Bieniemy, Cordell Stewart, and Rashawn Salam were just some names to name a few. But it's been quite a minute since the Buffs have been able to have a showcase of a national championship winning team here in Boulder. I personally was not even alive yet to be able to remember when the Buffs were a dominant force in the NCAA. But this came at a time back when Colorado was a part of the Big 12 led by all-time Buffs coaching leader Bill McCartney. But the decline of CU was past the point of no return. I'm talking scandals, transfer portal chaos, and the constant recycling of coaches, you name it. The Buffs have endured all the motions over the last 20 years of an ongoing uphill battle. To fully understand why the program is in the state that it is, let's take a walk down memory lane. Working backwards, we can start with the fall of Mel Tucker and the takeover of Karl Dorrell. Dorrell came into the program that was losing key players and coaches after the sudden leaving of Mel Tucker just shy of the end of signing week back in 2020. We've discussed how ugly this got last year, and CU fans are still holding that same grudge. But even before the absence of Tucker, the Buffs saw some potential with Mike McIntyre with 10 wins and a Pac-12 South title back in 2016. But this came just shy after escaping the hole dug by former head coach John Embry, the 2-season coach that led the team to a horrible 3-10 record back in 2011 and that was later dismissed. Back in the day, there was hope though. The program was once a highly respected showing of NFL-level gifted players. McCartney took the program that was once lacking in facilities, budgets, etc., and turned them into national playing type of a program. But this all came from the magic of the recruiting talents that were hired into the program. NFL head coaches such as Jim Caldwell, who was dedicated to showing these young players why Colorado was the #1 choice. Colorado even finished #1 in the AP poll, sharing a spot with Georgia Tech. But with great power comes great controversy. Reports of over 24 arrested players in a span of 3 years, plus a lot of accounts of racism towards black athletes, and several accounts of sexual assault were all placed on the team. As the Buffs are looking to finish spring ball and prep for the start of the season, they are still faced with the same challenges. Karl Dorrell has his work cut out for him rebuilding this team, and I hope he's here to stick with it for a while. Don't forget to check out the spring game tomorrow at 1, and I'm Taylor Sadusky here with Buff Banter.
Thanks, Taylor. We got skiing, baseball, and a whole lot more coming up after this break. Don't go anywhere.
After a dominant season on the slopes, senior Philippe Fourquet was named the National Alpine Skier of the Year by the United States Collegiate Ski Coaches Association. Fourquet won the individual national championship in Giant Slalom this year. His 2022 campaign featured 3 outrageous victories, and Fourquet finished a top 10 in each of the 10 races he finished this year. Fourquet's award marks the 3rd straight year that CU has produced a National Skier of the Year, joining Magnus Bowie in men's Nordic and Michaela Tommy in women's Alpine. A big congratulations from us to Philippe on the amazing accomplishments.
The CU women's club softball team qualified for the NCSA regionals for the first time ever this year. Taya Valdez, senior and middle infielder, said that talks of the tournament were in the air. But as the season progressed, they were confident that with each win, their chances went up. As for now, they were planning on taking each game one pitch at a time. They are playing Arkansas State tomorrow in Overland Park, Kansas. You can follow them on Instagram for updates. Good luck!
Speaking of track and field, Colorado's very own Abby Nicholas has been named this week's Women's Track Athlete of the Week by Pac-12. Her time at 15 minutes, 15 seconds, and 95 milliseconds in the 5,000-meter run is second in CU's history, only behind the NCAA record currently held by Jenny Simpson. She joined Sage Herta and Emily Hunsucker as the only athletes in CU's history to earn the honor twice, as well as in one season. Congratulations, Abby.
The Rocky Mountain Showdown made its way to Boulder last weekend as the club baseball team took on Colorado State in a 3-game series. The Buffs won 6-5 in the opener after Matthew Klassen stopped a bases-loaded Rams team from scoring in the bottom of the 9th. The Rams took Game 2, and the Buffs responded with an 8-2 blowout win in Game 3 to take the series. Wyatt Jackson went 3 for 4 that game with 2 doubles and 4 RBI. It was the first time ever Colorado won a series against Colorado State in the regular season.
So many sports, and we're not done yet. We got Rapid Fire with Megan right after the break.
Who's the biggest Bob fan here?
Me! That guy. School bus. Go bus, baby! We're all about the bus! School bus! Woo! They can't contain us. We're the best. We can't be stopped. Go!
Fans, I'm Megan Pearson. Welcome back to Rapid Fire. The school year might be winding down, but our Buff athletes are still hard at work as the spring season wraps up. This weekend, the track and field team will travel to Fort Collins for the Jack Christensen Invite. They will compete against various collegiate programs such as Colorado State, Air Force Academy, and more. The women's lacrosse team is currently battling it out with Oregon in a home matchup, so check out our Twitter page for live updates. They're hoping to close out the regular season with a few wins before heading to the Pac-12 tournament in early May. Men's lacrosse is also taking the field tonight for their first game of the postseason against Texas, which will be played at the BYU Stadium in Utah. We also have to mention that they took home the Rocky Mountain Showdown trophy last week and crushed CSU, so a big congrats to them. And lastly, the Buffs football squad will be back on Folsom Field for their spring showcase game tomorrow at 1 p.m. It's their last practice of the spring season and will be a preview of next week's spring game. The event is open to all fans, so go check out the football team ahead of this fall. That's all for this week's edition of Rapid Fire. Back to you at the desk, Alexa and Luca.
To this week's trivia question. Remember, we asked you, how many times has Folsom Field played host to a concert? And the answer is 17. That's right, it was a little hard to calculate the exact number of concerts that were held at Folsom, but you can bet there was at least 17. You probably know that Dead & Company has played at Folsom several times for their summer tour. But did you also know that bands like the Rolling Stones, the Grateful Dead, and even Paul McCartney played there as well? Some pretty cool stuff for sure.
For the tweet of the week, we decided to talk a little more about our newest pro buff, Maya Hollingshed, and her new home, Las Vegas. She gets to collaborate with Becky Hammond, the new head coach and former CSU Ram. The Las Vegas Aces tweeted this: "Spotted, a Ram and a Buffalo. There won't be any Rocky Mountain showdowns between these two, but we can expect some great basketball."
With that, we're going to bring out all the seniors that will be graduating this year. Come on, guys.
Thank you all for a great summer, and we cannot wait to see you back here next semester. As always, remember to stay tuned to our social media channels at SBS_CU and for CU sports coverage over the last few weeks of the semester and into the summer.
Yeah! Woo! Come on, Taylor. You forgot the scripts.